Almost 10 months after the last 2010 election, the Hocus PCOS is taking center stage again, and now in the ARMM elections. In fact, there are probably more questions now, like the cost, 2.2 billion for how many voters? 2 million voters compared to 7.5 billion when
50 million
50 million voters. And the last point Mano was making before we took our break, it was about the terms of the contract. Please pursue it. What were you trying to bring out?
Okay, what I was trying to bring out is the fact that COMELEC allowed, actually paid Smartmatic in advance, which the government doesn't allow. But Attorney Rafanan and company and the Smartmatic people invented these reports. No? And those reports should have been written in gold in paper, because 400 million for this report.
Do you think this is just a digression, I know, but do you think a year or two or sometime later you will find Rafanan and all these other people facing the Senate investigation, and somebody will say, you know, do a Angelo Reyes because things that are uncovered? Anyway, this is just...
I wouldn't hit too much Attorney Rafanan.
Well,
I think it would be the commissioners.
The commissioners,
because it's the commissioners that decided.
And he just
he's
had
just
to
in the
follow?
legal,
He just had to follow.
He's just in the legal, you know. But
so let's go to the commissioners. Do we foresee, and you don't have to answer this, it's just a naughty question, do you foresee somebody doing an Angelo Reyes?
We hope.
Okay, so continue mo, Mano. Kasi talagang maraming lokohan apparently. I mean, you know, we're not...
Let's go back to my favorite topic. My favorite topic is that if you want to get rid of corruption in government procurement, you have to amend the procurement reform law. Because how did the Smartmatic get the contract? And before that, in 2004, how did what is the name of Mega Pacific get the contract? What they do is they put provisions that other people cannot fill in. And two of the interesting provisions for this election was, first, that the machines should have been EPA certified.
What is EPA?
Environmental
Protection Agency certified. You know, if you're gonna buy a fleet of buses that will run 20 hours a day, it's very important. If you're buying machines that will run 12 hours every 3 years, the environmental pollution is almost nothing. And some people could have been eliminated who could have better machines and cheaper machines. They were eliminated for a stupid requirement. The other stupid requirement was the ISO 9000, which COMELEC bent backwards, because the Smartmatic company that bidded here did not have ISO 9000. It was a sister company that had ISO 9000.
Okay.
So
Dominion. That's Dominion. Voters.
So that was a miscoordination on their part when they were applying. Which company should apply, maybe?
No. That's another point
it
that
was
we should
government bending backwards, because
the requirement
if
is there.
Smartmatic was not their favorite and not pushed by a certain friend of mine or something, then they wouldn't have bent backwards. They would have said, you're out. But since they were the preferred vendor, they were in. Unfortunately, there's a problem with the Republic Act 9184.
That's another one.
That's the procurement law.
9184.
The problem is it says if you have a single qualified bidder, you can go through with the bid.
That's right.
Prior to that, and prior to EO80, which Gloria invented, you had to have at least 3 qualified bidders. So if you have to have at least 3 qualified bidders, it's very hard to put pass or fail criteria that will eliminate everyone but 3. It's easy to put pass or fail criteria that will eliminate everyone but 1.
Of course. In the DPWH, they also have a lot of these rules, and you have 4 or 5 bidders, but they have conferences before they bid, and who's going to finally win is already arranged. But that's another matter. Let's go back to the Hocus PCOS. But recognize already the problem happened.
That's how the Hocus PCOS was chosen, because of the provisions of the procurement reform law, which has to be reformed.
Okay. Reform law that has to be reformed.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Manu brought up something that I'd like to add on.
Go ahead.
He said about Dominion. Okay, Dominion.
That's another company.
That's another company within the consortium,
which
is of
includes
Smartmatic.
Smartmatic consortium. Okay.
Which actually is the supplier of the software for the PCOS machines of Smartmatic.
Okay.
Now, the reason, and it was admitted by Tato Garcia, who's the consultant to Chairman Melo before, and I think he's again the consultant to Chairman Brillantes, and he admitted that they could not come out with the source code because the ownership of the source code belonged to somebody else.
That's right.
That's a violation again of their own request, the TOR, the terms of reference of the bid. In the bid, they said that, and I think the RA 9369 also states that the source code should be open to interested political parties so that we want to see whether the software does not do a dagdag bawas.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay? But they couldn't open the source code. They couldn't share the contents of the source code because it did not belong to Smartmatic, which is a violation because once they enter into the bid, they should own it and they can open it to any interested party.
But there's a fundamental constitutional question here, whether this is constitutional and legal to have a process that is controlled actually by a private entity and a foreign company. And this is not only in the Philippines. This has been raised again and again in the US too. In their case, of course, it's not a foreign company but a private company. But anyway, it still remains to be resolved, really.
Right.
Okay, so going back to the ARM, we have to discuss whether the ARM postponement itself is relevant to this discussion. But before that, anything else to add to our... You were mentioning about the final recommendation, now I recall, from the last administration, this Rojas Chua, who was the advisor on IT
the chairman
for the government.
The commission,
CICT.
The CICT, yes.
Okay, CICT again is
the Commission on Information and Communications Technology.
It's an official government advisory body to the Office of the President. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's under the Office
Who was
of the
the
President.
previous head of this CICT?
It was Secretary Ray Anthony Rojas Chua.
Okay.
So before he left, he complied with the requirements of the law of the council, the advisory council, coming up with a terminal report.
Okay.
And I think in the terminal report, which by the way we have no access now to, in the
why don't we have access? If it's an official document, I thought we were supposed to have transparency, blah, blah, blah.
Try asking for it.
Try asking for it.
It probably has some negative comments.
On the Hocus PCOS.
Yes. Okay. And I think that I heard from somebody else who has read it.
But, okay, now we know that they're trying to hide it. That's the impression I get. And, you know, it's an impression is a fact. If they, after expressing it, they still don't come out with it.
Yes.
So they're hiding it. How are we going to get it? So we resolve this.
We can probably get the new chairman of the
Commission on ICT.
No, the new chairman of the Oversight Committee, JCOC.
The Joint Congress.
Is Miriam Santiago.
Well,
so she can probably bring it out.
Okay, let's hope she is stable when we request it. Okay.
Don't come up with insinuations, you'll not get it. Sige.
But because that report is very crucial, because if there is anything negative about the Hocus PCOS or the Smartmatic machine, then we are making a mistake in reusing it again.
I think his terminal report contained an advice not to reuse it because of the certain bugs that were in it. The compensating controls were not maybe done, were not executed, were not implemented in the 2010. You know, as I was telling you earlier, I'd hate to be beating this this issue on the PCOS. It's already long after elections. We keep on hitting it and they keep on saying, oh, there they go again. But it's because we have not received the answers that we've been asked to the questions that we've been asking. We are really sure that it's very difficult to trust this system. There is no transparency What was, during the 2010 elections, what was sacrificed was speed versus transparency and accuracy. So the IT community, you know, we know that it's very easy to manipulate this automated election
garbage
system.
in, garbage out. You know?
Right. That's why we're asking for solutions or answers to our questions. Why we're asking for the source code. We want to see that there was no embedded software within an embedded routine that will add votes to somebody and deduct from somebody.
Okay, let me go back to Anthony Rojas Chua,
Yes.
the former head of CICT,
Yes.
whose final terminal report on the Smartmatic machine and the whole AES
Yes.
process has not been revealed to the public. So you now have a new head of the CICT,
Yes.
which whom you say is endorsing the machine again.
That's what we heard from Chairman Brillantes.
Again,
that
we
the
heard.
commission.
Why
No, I was there in the meeting of Senpeg with Chairman Brillantes.
Why
and
doesn't
told,
Chairman Brillantes bring out the document and say this is the new recommendation?
At that time when we met, because I know that one of the members of the advisory council, because I come from another federation, PETEF, the Philippine Electronics and Telecoms Federation, and according to him, during the meeting, they had already come up with the resolution that they will recommend the buying of the PCOS machines.
They is CICT?
The CAC. The
CAC.
Advisory Council, which is composed of PPCRV Chair, Tita De Villa, Mon Casiple of CER, of course, PETEF, and Mr. Ivan Uy, who is now the chair of CICT. Yes, and according to Chairman Brillantes, that the commission, the Advisory Council had recommended, because you know these machines are only on list
for
to
me,
purchase.
You mentioned 3 out of 4 of the usual suspects I have for questionable elections. You know, in 2004, although they are given this cloak of sanctity, this PPCRB, because they're church-related, parang holy, you know. The fact is, in 2004, they did not detect, they did not reveal, they did not expose what eventually was a fact that there was massive anomaly there. So I wonder whether the nuns' habit they used to, you know, but and Mon Casiple also toes a certain line that to me makes him suspect to me as a political analyst. But so let me see, how much time do we have? We have now to go to the justification for the postponement, no? But before that, again, I will ask wrap up or last minute addition to the arguments you have presented.
Okay, the other reason I'm against, first, we don't need the PCOS machine now. If we use the PCOS machine, even if they gave it away at 50 million rather than 140 million, I'm still against that, because I don't want to preempt a good choice of technology for the next election. Because PCOS is not good for credibility. It's very hard to check 76,000 machines. If we went to a centralized cost, in 2004, the budget was only 1.3 billion, because those were centralized OMR machines.
OMR, please again explain.
Optical
mark reading. They just change it, but the PCOS machine is also an optical mark reading machine, except it's focused at the precinct. If you do it at the municipality, you need only
2,000 units, maybe 2,005?
Because some municipalities will have multiples. But you probably, let's say you need 6,000 machines instead of 76,000 machines.
Right.
But the beauty about doing it at the municipality is a party or NAMFREL could have a machine in a municipality, and let's say you want to assure yourselves that the machines are reading right. You just borrow the same ballots and say, hey, my machine will read that. So if the machine reads it, it's completely different, then you know that there's something wrong with the programming of
And Manu, you have always been saying that the time lag has never been at the precinct counting. That has always been finished.
Transmission.
It's in the transmission, and the hocus pocus in the not PCOS, hocus pocus in the municipal consolidation. I think that's one of the problems.
And it's a false sense of economy. No? When you're buying machines, you're willing to spend so much money. If you don't have machines, the argument usually is the poor teachers have to carry it on their backs. It takes them a long time to get there. hell, you know, you rent a van, and this van can move around many precincts. Now, how much would the rental of a van cost you for one night?
Yeah. Well, this brings me, excuse me, my pen fell. This brings me to the point that, no.
That's okay.
Okay. This brings me to Miss Akol's point about, well, the question, what finally is the point of repeating and repeating these points that you have been raising, because you say Smartmatic has been complaining every time you raise questions again. Well, the point I think has been shown by Mano, his insistence from the day one up to today to repeat the same criticisms, I think make people more appreciative and understand the points. Because the effort of Smartmatic and those on their side has been to obfuscate the issue by repetition also of how great and successful it has been. So I think that's the first thing we have achieved in this discussion. So I go to Maricor now. Your summation or your final point on this machine before we go to the issue of the postponement.
I think Gus had a very nice analogy in his article wherein he said, if you were going to your neighbor's house, which is just a block away, will you use your car because you have a car to go there, or will you walk? Okay, and Mano has come out with already the proposition that if you're only going to count 3 candidates, let's say you had 3 positions with 10 candidates each position, or even 20, will you use a machine or will you just count it manually? No, just because the machine is there doesn't mean that you'll have to use it. You also want people to participate and see that their vote was counted. So why don't you just go to manual counting? Okay, so that is our position on the PCOS, because up to now we are not convinced that it is that there was no fraud in the elections. You can see the number of complaints. It's double the number of complaints in the past manual elections. So how can you say that
it's really double the number of complaints? Let's say more, just more. Or
just more,
do we have a statistical basis for...
I don't know.
We don't have it, but that would be interesting to find out.
Yes, that there are so many complaints, more than in the manual election. So what does that tell you? Is it successful?
That's right, yeah.
So, but they keep on coming in to say that it's successful.
But
so
that's an old Goebbels principle. Repeat the lie until it becomes a truth. And I think it seems to have numbed a lot of people to the questions that you keep raising too.
Yeah, but if you're going to use this for the succeeding elections, it must be foolproof. And you must really convince the people that are using it that it's really good and beyond question. But as we said, there are so many holes that they have to plug in.
Okay, now we have our last 4 or 5 minutes. This very heated issue of postponing the election. How did it begin? Have you been following it? Well, okay. What are your views about this postponement? You rooted for Noynoy Aquino, and they're now in Malacanang. And people are questioning why Malacanang has recommended the postponement and created so much of these problems now.
Well, it seems that some people in ARM itself who feel close to Malacanang figured that the way we can get, instead of being elected, we can get appointed to replace the present incumbents. So argue for postponement in order to save money, because they say the problem is it's unsynchronized. No? But why do you have to postpone it? My logic, except I'm not a lawyer, would be go on with the elections and have a shorter term. Don't make the term extend beyond 2013. If you make it a shorter term, then in 2013 it's synchronized.
Okay.
No, on the postponement, there was a group, there was a congressman, I forgot the name, but he came out with a bill opting for postponement so that there's a holdover. Okay, but there's another bill that was for postponement with appointment, and that is the one that Malacanang is pushing, that they will postpone and they will appoint. So this first group that wanted the postponement and the holdover said that's illegal to appoint. So I think probably they'll opt for not to postponement. And I think that the very reason for having the ARM elections separate from the national elections is because we want to put resources to this troubled area at the time, not together with, don't lump them with the national elections. So that's, I think, the main reason, for coming out with the ARM elections, separate from the national elections. Now you're going to postpone it and go to the national elections. I think you're going to take out the people's choice.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I get the impression that some people want to pull a fast one on this. You have already explained some of the details. But one of the arguments they use in trying to convince people is that we need to reform ARM first because of the ampatuans and so on. They might come back into power if we just let it go on the way it is. What's your reaction to that?
You think they can get elected right now?
Actually, some people believe
I don't think they can. Because the public's very strongly against them right now. But you know, after 2 years, they probably can make a comeback.
Well, but actually as well,
so where's this argument about reforming it first before the election? Where's this coming from?
Because that's just a throw-in of the people who want to get in power.
Okay, yeah, Maricor, sorry I interrupted you.
Some people, I think, if you were going to interview them and probably come up with a plebiscite, they're not even for the ARMM anymore, because it seems like the poor have become poorer, and those people in power are the only ones benefiting from it.
Well, when we were
I mean, that's different.
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
that's
while
a different
we were
issue.
off the air, I said frankly that I don't believe in elections in the country, and I would like to see a revolutionary period to really reform.
Careful.
But that would also be like arguing like Malacanang too, about the ARM. But we also discussed what kind of society would I envision, and so on. That's a subject for another discussion. But I'm really very cynical about elections, even in ARM alone. And so I'm more concerned about clear waste of resources if they use the machines again.
Yes.
Because the arguments I think Manu and Maricor presented are very clear and very simple. And we have 1 minute to the end of the program, so I'm going to give 30 seconds each for your summation. So we'll have ladies last in the summation.
Okay.
Manu?
Okay, I'm against postponement because that's disenfranchising the people in ARM. So we will have the government appointing somebody new or holdovers. Definitely, I'm against automation because automation at the precinct level is not needed. You need transmission, you need canvassing, but not the counting at the precinct.
To make it very clear, you believe automation should begin from the municipality up the process?
No, from transmission from the precinct.
From the precinct.
You can transmit from the precinct to the municipality because you've counted already. There's only three. There's only 3 positions and maybe 10 candidates. You can text that very easily.
You can text that. So it's really very simple, and the backup documents can follow.
Yeah, the backup. Those are just for protest na lang. They will not recount in the municipality.
Okay, last 10 seconds.
10 seconds. I think the message is clear, and I hope it gets to COMELEC. It's no to postponement and no to Hocus PCOS.
Okay, very interesting discussion, very instructive. Thank you very much, and see you next week. So, very good. I think it was very